Hi, friends. So it's just my luck that my microphone is dead, even though I charged it all night to prepare for today. hmm hmm that's what's happening today for us. Should I button this? Would it be cuter buttoned? I think so. Let's see. It's not like it's giving me any type of exposure anyway. It's not really doing anything up there. So, can we hear me? So boom. Welcome to my channel. It is me, T, aka Teopatra, and you're watching TTV. And today we're doing a collective message. Gonna shuffle on camera to figure out what that is. Like I said, I want to apologize in advance for the fact that for the sound quality, because we're using headphones today since my microphone is dead. Okay. Let's check the energy. How are you guys doing? What's the energy today? What's the theme? Of course. It fell on the ground, so we're not going to do that. So, happy birthday to all my Aquariuses, especially if you're experiencing your Saturn return right now. That means that you're through the ages. Well, our Saturn return happens every 12 years, or is it 11 and a half? However often it takes Saturn to transit. I think it's 11 and a half, so 22. No. Your Saturn return happens when you're, I believe 29 to, it's between the ages of 28 because of the pre-shadow and 31 or 32. 28 to 31. Okay, so I'm going to shuffle on camera. I'm doing a collective message, just a general collective message. So I just want to see what the energies are. So I feel like there's some type of idea something that you've been thinking about, some type of idea that you have about something, or you kind of feel like you think something and it's kind of been on your mind for a while and you're trying to figure out what it is, but you're having a hard time. You're having a hard time figuring it out, right? And we're currently this card keeps popping out, and it keeps popping out upside down. So right now we're in Aquarius season, and the sun does not like to be in Aquarius because the sun is at home in Leo, and Leo's opposite sign is Aquarius. So anytime a planet is in the opposite sign of where it is at home, it means that that planet is in a diluted energy there. So since the sun has to do with the ego, and Aquarius has to deal with Aries, oh my God, get off. Aries is the self, but Leo is the ego. So the opposite of the self and the ego is the collective on a broader scale. So this is very much giving me collective energy. I'm getting that this can be, like I said, this is a very general reading. Doesn't matter your sign, doesn't matter your gender or your age, but I feel like either a lot of the people watching this are in their 20s, or this is pass. Or this is, for those of you who are younger and not in your 20s yet, you could be trying to determine or predict how your 20s will go, meaning that you most likely are into astrology and you're kind of mapping out based on your natal chart what your 20s will look like, and that's really good. Like, I wish more people, like for example me, even though I didn't know my whole chart when I was a teenager, but I did know my sun sign, and I was able to kind of use the people around me as reference. But it would have been a nice resource for me to have been able to know my natal chart at a younger age, so then I would have been able to map out certain things and maybe have not made the mistakes that I did, but to each his own. And for those of you who are older and already went through your 20s, you could be around a lot of people in their 20s. You could have kids in your children 20s, siblings, nieces and nephews, cousins, or coworkers, or you could mentor people in their 20s, or you could just be thinking back on your 20s. And the decisions that you made that led you up to now. So let me just think for a second. So I feel like I feel like maybe your mind has been racing during the daytime because of a past decision that you made that you didn't really think about in the moment, but now it's really causing you to feel in an almost detrimental energy. Now, the 11th house, which is the reason why I'm emphasizing Aquarian energy, is because one, the sun is currently in Aquarius, and the card that I pulled out was 11, the 11th house. So with Aquarius dealing with the collective, it also deals with innovation, technology, change. But the thing about the ego being in fixed air is that, excuse me, I have like indigestion right now. So there's a tendency for the mind to be fixated on something. So whatever it is that's on your mind, I feel like you're having a difficult time. It's not even that you're having a difficult time expressing it. It's just something is on your mind that is almost too much. And it could have to deal with work or the things that you grew up to believe or the things that you thought you believed in. Maybe those things are changing. I feel like maybe there's some type of information that you're choosing to not see, that you're choosing to be blind to in regards to this, the way you may have allowed your environment to influence you. And I see there's almost a denial of accountability on your part. And it's kind of like you're battling yourself right now within your thoughts. I'm going to get some tarot. I want one card for each of my... No. I didn't get to shuffle yet. There's something that you want. It's like you want to start over. You want to start, like, you want to have a transformation and be a new person. You want to take the new ideas that you have, and maybe you could want to just move away, start over, start fresh, change your identity, and just, I feel like maybe you want to just change your identity. You're going through some type of identity crisis or some type of transformation within the mind, and you want to transform your ideas, but it's hard for you to do that because of the environment that you're in. Whether you're around people that you feel like don't resonate with you, or because in the past, before, there could have been someone around you that could have lied to you, about how they truly felt about you, and you realized that, and you felt like you were taken advantage of, and it's causing you guys to have trust issues within the self and within those around you. So even though you want to make connections with people, you don't feel like maybe you trust yourself enough to make those connections. And in order to protect yourself, you are choosing to detach. So going back to the 11th house of Aquarius, Aquarian energy has the tendency to detach. I also feel like you are not acknowledging how you truly feel about something in order to, because you don't want to seem like a victim. And you feel more in power whenever you ignore the way that you feel, because you feel like feelings are not important. But the more that you deny your feelings, the more it haunts you, because you are unable to think about what it is you truly want in connections. And it's almost like you deal with people on a transactional basis. And there's not a lot of movement in your life as far as change. And you're really unsure about who to connect with during this time. You could be denying offers or turning down people because of trauma. But I feel like during this time, you are spending, instead of spending a lot of time around other people, you are attempting to identify how to emotionally relate to others. Which means that a lot of shadow work is being done during this time. I feel like a lot of you are doing shadow work in regards to how to take better action and how to have better control of yourself. But you feel stagnant in that there doesn't seem to be any type of outcome to it just yet. So, but I see you coming out of this energy and figuring out how to use the resources that you have instead of feeling in the energy of lack. But there is going to be a new beginning coming towards you. And the challenge is going to be for you to be able to identify whether or not this is for you and if you're ready. And I feel like maybe you feel like you've been dealing with the same type of lesson for a long time, but that's because you haven't been able to balance the scales in regards to the action that you make towards this lesson and if you were making the same mistakes or not. So you might feel like you understand the lesson because you've been around the experience before, but in reality, you keep making the same mistakes in regards to this lesson. Now, if this has to deal with a child, there could be either a child that you didn't have that you could have wanted to have, or in regards to the children that you have and the dynamic that you're wishing that you have with the family dynamic that you wish you had based on the child and the person that you have the child with, it could be causing some type of mental and stability in the moment. The lesson here is to realize that you do have the ability to manifest, but if you do not trust in yourself and your ability to manifest, then you will only continue to manifest in unfavorable situations where you have to continue to learn lessons, and that's not necessarily bad, but it's all about perspective and how you look at it. Because sometimes when things might happen, we might put it on ourselves and be like, well, the reason why this happened was because I wasn't worthy enough, or because I wasn't X, Y, and Z enough. But in reality, the universe and God is just presenting something to you in order for you to see the beauty in it. But there's a lot of dark energy around the mind. And I feel like you could have made action prematurely, and it could be haunting you. And you could feel like you made a mistake. Yeah, I feel like you could be denying how you truly feel about something, and you are doing a lot of escapism, whether it's in TV, music, or whatever, drugs. And it could cause you to feel like you have no control over your own life. Or you can use these things to escape because the people who were supposed to be in your corner let you down. You, in this moment, are being asked to forgive yourself for the decisions that you made. And just because you decided to give someone a chance that necessarily may not have deserved it, but in the moment you felt like they deserved it, it's not going to benefit you to beat yourself up. And I know that's easier said than done, but there's a lot of mental turmoil going on right now in regards to the decisions that you make. And you feel like it's better to just isolate yourself than to even open yourself up to love, or for friendships or relatability again, because people just disappoint you. I almost see, like, especially with Venus being in Pisces right now, like you'd rather live in your own fantasy world, which is probably sleeping and dreaming. Um, it's kind of like you're trying to avoid the lessons that you're supposed to learn. You can never avoid the lessons, but you will prolong the process of them if you are choosing to not accept your own fate. And it's almost kind of like you're trying to change your fate, but at the very root of it all, you can change how you look on the outside, but you won't be able to change. You can take medication and drugs to make you feel a certain type of way on the inside, but down to the very core of us all, we all have an aura, and our aura is not going to change. Like, our God looks at our aura. Like, he reads aura. He doesn't look at the physical. We as human beings, we look at each other on the physical, but your aura is what you have to work on, and that will only change through shadow work. And if you're afraid of your Saturn returns, don't be, because you can't be afraid of. See, I got everything is fine, but in reverse, because it's kind of like you're wasting your life. You cannot waste your life away, because then you will end up reincarnating into the same experience. And instead of trying to just blame yourself and being like, oh, I'm just a shitty person, or that person was shitty, you need to learn how to see the beauty in things. Because, and like I said, that's easier said than done, but everyone's in control of their fate. Now, we can't control what people do to us, but we can control how we react to them and how we let them affect us. That's the only thing. Now, there could be situations where you're getting, trigger warning, where you're getting physically abused, and nobody's going to sit there and be happy about the fact that they get physically abused, because no one should have to go through that. And then you might ask yourself, well, why me? Why am I the one that has to deal with a situation like this, an aggressive situation? But sometimes we get ourselves into situations because we have rose-colored glasses about how something or someone may be or should be. But the lesson in it all is to be able to have personal clarity on the red flags and the signs that present it. And sometimes there are no red flags. But it's all about how, like, if you're in an energy where you just want to feel good and you just want someone to make you feel good about yourself, then you will only attract predatory situations, because you have to feel whole and complete before you can try to relate to other people. And because you could have been in a victimized situation or in a traumatic experience for a long time, it can be hard. Like, you could have lost yourself in the process, and it can be really hard for you to figure out how to even convey yourself to the outside world, because it's like you've been beaten into submission. But whoever you are a fighter and you are a survivor. 6, 9, 6. And sometimes things may happen that you might question. And there have been things that have happened in your life that really make you question your faith and ask, why me? But through it all, you can't help but feel like you are still here for a reason, in that despite all of the negative things that have happened to you, and despite all of the hurt that you've been put through, you can't help but to let it be fuel to your fire and prevail over it all. And there could be a lot of people around you who want to make sure that you never come into this power that you have, because they've seen it before, before you did. Before, you probably didn't even think much of yourself. You probably just thought, oh, I'm just a regular person. But when these situations keep happening to you, you started to come to a certain realization that it's kind of like you're like living in a matrix, or like it's like Groundhog's Day, but with different people. And then it's like through each situation you have become wiser. Like, this happened the last time, this same, like almost the person could say the same exact thing that someone else could have said, and they could have never even been around for the situation. And you could just be thinking to yourself, like you're watching it happen in real time, almost like you're watching it like a show. Like your life is kind of like almost dramatic, like some type of action movie. And it's almost hard for you to escape your own reality, because a lot of times you feel like you're living in a dream world. Like, you feel like your reality isn't even real based on the way that things play out. And like, you could be like always begging and pleading for help, and no one is ever there for you. And you can't seem to understand why it is that you have to go through a situation that is so desolate and triggering. And yet you still feel this yearning deep within your soul that there's something more out there for you. And especially if you have children, you could just want to protect your children. And you do what you do for the sake of your children, even if that means you having to be hurt. Like, I feel like some of you could be in situations where your children have had to see you cry or be down, or in a place or a situation where you didn't want them to be in for their safety or their health. But you sacrifice yourself for your family. And even if you don't have children, it's like I see you sacrificing yourself for your family. And you're just built different. Like, most people, like when you go to work every day, most people would look at you and probably not even realize half of the things that you have to deal with on a daily basis just to survive. These are the cards, the oracle cards. Horus, slow victory. So with Horus, if you ever heard of the Eye of Horus, you see he's holding an Ankh. And the Ankh right there at the bottom, Ankh, that is a metaphysical tool that was used in ancient Egypt and Mesopotamia as a symbolism of the womb. And being a woman in itself, being born as a woman in itself, is a very powerful thing because you have the ability to create life whether you want to or not. You like, even if the creation of life or the process of creating life could have caused you to become weak or ill or to the verge of death, just that alone, you have this deep rooted power within you to create something out of the energy that you can't even see, which are your blood cells. Even though you can bleed and you can see them, but there's something going on within you, like your aura has created a second coming. And then sorry, before I go on to that, let's go into Horus. So Horus is the son of Auset, or what's her other name? I can't remember Auset's other name. Comment below if you know. And Auset and Osiris were both married, and Set, who was Osiris's brother, killed him, and Auset went all around the world and brought his body parts together so that he can have a proper burial and mummification. So Horus, being the son of Osiris, should have been the king, but he was able to go and kill Set to become the king because it was rightfully his place. Now, Horus was already born in a detrimental state simply from the fact that his own uncle hated his father so much that he killed him for the throne. Whether it was for the throne or not, there was some type of hatred or jealousy that he had. And you could probably have family members or siblings, some people that are really, really close to you that you feel like, the people that are closest to me are my biggest enemies and my biggest obstacles in life. And I wouldn't even have had like 88 to 95% of the problems in my life if I didn't have these hateful family members around me. But you know that you're not like them, and you are almost the one that bears the weight of breaking the generational curse. And I just keep getting this feeling like all of you are just like, but why me? Like, I don't want it to be like that. Why does it have to be like that? I don't want to have to do this, and that. I just want to live a normal, safe life. But when all of us chose to reincarnate here on the earth plane in the three-dimensional, no one ever said it was going to be an easy task, even for those who may look like they live the easiest lives. Everyone still has their own battle that they're dealing with. Now, yes, some people's battles might be more physical, where you're dealing with the domestic abuse or verbal abuse, and no one should have to deal with that. And there have been plenty of times where you just felt like ending it all was better than having to deal with this. But for some reason, there's this something deep within you that just makes you feel like, I can't do that, because you know that there is way more for you. There are so many different versions of you that you will become that you cannot allow yourself to just end it now, because you know that you won't be doing yourself any type of justice by doing that. Satis, fertility and satisfaction. And then we also have Selket, magical protection. And Bastet or Bast, joy and pleasure. So I get that maybe recently or in the near future, you had some type of change within yourself that came out of nowhere, probably around your birthday, especially if you're an Aquarius and you just turned 28. You just turned 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, or 32, any of those ages specifically. Something, it's kind of like a switch flipped within you, and you probably have been channeling more through music, or you have been healing through music, or you have been writing and creating music, but there's something that you are working on, and right now you're having a battle in your mind from the trauma, but at the same time it's like you want to create beauty in life, and you almost cannot allow the negativity that you went to overcome you. Instead, it's kind of like you're using it as fuel to keep the fire ablaze. I also feel like whether you're masculine or feminine, but especially if you're feminine, you're in your dark feminine energy, and that has kind of helped you to transform yourself because you've been healing your sacral chakra and your womb and the energy you have around being having your womb be taken advantage of. And if you've been a victim of sexual assault, this is also still trigger warning. That could be another thing. You could have had a child as a result of sexual assault, and you could right now be contemplating whether or not you should give life to this child. Because you don't think it's fair for someone to have to be born out of an energy of fear and hate. And I think that that is the battle that you're dealing with right now, to try to figure out what you should do. And that's why it's hard for you to make action, because the decision that you have to make is not easy. And if it's not you, then it's someone around you. Like your friend could be going through this, and you could be trying to figure out how to comfort them, and it could be very hard for you because you don't want to just tell them to let it go. But I see that you might end up deciding to, whether you end up deciding to keep it or not keep it, it's changed you already. And you, through the process, that's why you have been delaying the decision, because you've been also healing at the same time. Because as you're cultivating this life within you, you want to make sure that if I decide to keep it, then this child will come from a healthy energy. But if you decide not to keep it, then you know that you'll be healed and okay with your decision, even if you may want to, but you just can't bring yourself to do it because of the circumstances. I would say during this time to seek healing, maybe speaking to a therapist. It would also benefit you to be around water. The full moon is going to be in Leo on the 5th, so I would definitely advise doing moon gazing, which is looking into the moon and releasing everything that you feel and looking out into the moon and just allowing all of the energy that you feel to transmute into the moon energy just by staring into it, even if that means you have to cry into it. I would suggest doing a yoni steam, a yoni bath. There's also, you're going to find a new love for something. And it could be art, it could be painting, it could be writing, it could be acting, it could be some type of expression that you will grow to love. And the more you grow to love this new thing and become more passionate about it, and you understand what your passions are, because you might have right now be trying to figure out what are you passionate about, and you might have a hard time understanding what that is. But the more you put love into yourself, these old flames will try to come back, and even new people who have the same tendencies as the old people. And the lesson is going to be in how you put up your boundaries. That doesn't mean that you have to necessarily just automatically shut people out, but the more you are able to establish your boundaries with people and people know how to approach you, you will continue to have those boundaries up and be able to steadily build that wall up to protect yourself from those type of energies, and then they will never come back again. So that was a very deep reading for someone, and I really am sending you loving, healing energy. And through all the things that you went through, you're a fighter and a survivor. And one day, what you went through in your experience will enlighten someone else. But you have to continue to heal and grow and work on yourself. And I see you just being your aura is like silver and like blue silver, and it's very magical. but you have to be able to draw that energy out and not let the world harden you. And it doesn't even matter. Like, I was gonna say, like, you're beautiful, but you're beautiful on the inside mostly. And you're like, yeah, that's probably the reason that got me into this situation. But it's also okay to cry. Like, it's not your fault, the things that you went through. And if you do feel like those things are your fault, then you have to identify why that is. So during this time, it's going to benefit you to find some type of solace and healing. And that necessarily is not going to be in family, but in strengthening your connection with God, strengthening your connection with yourself and your ancestors, healing through water and your feminine energy, your maternal energy, healing your womb, and attracting instead of chasing. Get out of your masculine energy. Try to lean more. Try to balance your dark feminine and your light feminine energy. If you want to transform yourself, you can do that through your dark feminine energy. Look at Lilith in your chart, Black Moon Lilith specifically. Not true Lilith, Black Moon Lilith. Is it the same thing? Black Moon Lilith in your natal chart is what you're going to be specifically looking for, and that'll help you. And that's all I have for you today. Please give this video a thumbs up and let me know what you thought about it in the comments. Until next time. No matter what I do, it's always something.